I'm David Scandura,
I'm Justus Burkett.
and today we're here to find out, is Santa's Sleigh the greatest movie ever made?
Christmas is over when I say it's over.
Welcome to the greatest movie ever made, the show where we watch a movie and tell you if it's the greatest movie ever made.
Ho, ho, ho!
A movie that is so thoroughly entertaining and compelling that while you're watching it, it's the only thing that matters in this world. I'm David Scandura, and I'm back here in the Pod Crucible, joined as always by my co-host and jacked Santa Claus, Justus Burkett.
Jacked Santa Claus, but not what Goldberg is in this movie, which is jacked Jewish Santa Claus. Jacked Jewish demon Santa Claus. Also, I'm nowhere near as jacked as 2005 Bill Goldberg. Holy shit, man.
Oh, that's later in the movie when he takes off his jacket
Yeah,
and you see those arms.
He's in a little tank top, and I was like, oh, fuck. Also, everybody's like calling him Fatso and shit in this movie, and I'm like, are you seeing this man? He's like, his torso is like a tree trunk.
Yeah.
There is no fat on this man. He's like 100% just solid muscle. It's just very funny that people kept calling him fat. I was like, I don't think so.
How you doing, Justus?
Doing pretty good, David. We're recording this right after Thanksgiving. I had a good Thanksgiving with the fam this week. Obviously get some time off work because of the holiday, so that's been nice. I'm just trying to chill, trying to like reset as we head into December. I'm stoked for Christmas time. I'm a big listeners to this podcast know that I'm a Halloween fan, huge spooky season fan. I'm also a big Christmas guy. I love Christmas. The Podmaster is also a huge Christmas fan. So it's always very big in our house. The Christmas music has already started playing. We already got the lights up outside. We're probably going to be getting our tree super soon, like tomorrow probably. So yeah, it's going to be like in full swing soon, and you know, I'm excited about it. I know that not everybody is a big Christmas fan. I know that the season and the holiday can kind of bum some people out, but in our household it's definitely a fun and celebratory time of year, so yeah, stoked for that. And yeah, I guess that's it for me. I started talking as if I had more to say, and I guess I don't. How are you, David?
I'm good. I had a good Thanksgiving. My family's in town, so we just had a nice dinner together. We went to go visit my grandmother, who's in memory care at one of the facilities here in town, and that was good. It's been tough watching her go through the early stages of dementia the last few months, especially because it's been really hard on my mom. She's really taking it really hard, and my mom and my dad are both working together to coordinate her care and make sure she gets the best medical care, and working with the facility and stuff like that. It's been taking quite a toll on them, and I'm trying to help out where I can. And it's a little it's been difficult for me too, just seeing my grandmother in that state. But thankfully, Thanksgiving was a really good visit with her.
Yeah,
we had some dessert, and it was good to see her again. So a nice little quiet Thanksgiving. I'm a big fan of the holidays too. Not in the habit of decorating because I live by myself. So I have a small tree, but I'm sure if I put it up, my cats would destroy it. So I haven't done that.
Or piss on it or something.
Yeah. But yeah, really excited for the holidays. Definitely after Thanksgiving. From Thanksgiving to New Year's, it's just like, why do we even work?
I know, right?
Why does real life have to continue? Can I just stay home in a sweater?
And sometimes it feels like nobody is really working. Like if you're at it's obviously different if you're in like retail or food service or something like that, but if you're in like or media, the Podmaster's pointing at herself because she's a journalist, and that job doesn't stop. But if you're like in kind of like a office job environment, like both David and I are, it does feel like a lot of like your coworkers and managers have just kind of checked out for the rest of the year once Thanksgiving rolls around, and it's like, why am I busting my ass if like all of these people are not doing anything and don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's why I've made the plan to not bust my ass.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
year. Like
Just
I'm gonna be coasting till the ball drops.
That's the way to do it if you can. Like my deepest sympathies with the folks who are not able to slack off until the new year, especially retail workers. God bless all of you right now, because you are heroes who are on the front line of just the most nightmarish work scenario that I can possibly imagine. Working retail during the holidays. So we stand in solidarity with you. And yeah, and regarding your family stuff, I just wanted to say that I know it's rough, and if you ever need to chat about it with somebody, I'm always here off mic too.
Thank you.
Anything you've been enjoying in media lately?
So many things I could talk about. I've been re-watching some of my favorite movies to put together a new top movie list, because I haven't had that updated since probably 10 years ago. So there's so many ones I could talk about. Master and Commander, This is Spinal Tap, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Pacific Rim. I'm not going to talk about any of those. I'm going to talk about a couple bad movies that I had the time of my life watching.
Which may be a little on theme for this episode, to be talking about a couple of bad movies for our media recs. No spoilers on overall thoughts on the film, but gonna go out on a limb and say Santa's Slay 2005 is like not what most people would consider a good movie.
Yeah, certainly no Citizen Kane, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So I watched Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. And I also watched a movie called Blood Rage. There's a podcast out there called Till Death Do Us Blart that's run by the people behind My Brother and Me and The Worst Idea of All Time. Every Thanksgiving, they get together and they watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 and talk about it and review it. And the idea behind the podcast is that it is going to continue from now until the heat death of the universe, because they've all picked successors so that when they die, someone else will fill their place on the podcast to talk about Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
That's funny.
1 year, Griffin McElroy from My Brother and Me watched Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 synced up to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. So I did that this year on Thanksgiving. The word transcendent comes to mind. One of the most incredible experiences I've ever had watching a movie. You haven't lived until you've watched Kevin James fight a peacock to the climactic chorus of Brain Damage by Pink Floyd.
I can't imagine how many years do you think we're gonna live, David? Probably we're probably gonna live to be what, 70 something, maybe 80 something if we're lucky. I can't imagine spending almost 2 hours of my life doing what you've just described. My time on this earth is too precious. But maybe I'm underestimating the experience.
I own the movie on DVD. I've watched it multiple years, like not every year that the podcast has done it, but this is my third or fourth time watching that fucking movie.
I've never seen Paul Blart 1 or 2.
Spoiler alert, they're bad.
Yeah, that's why I haven't
Don't watch
them.
Don't fucking watch them.
Yeah, because I've seen everything I've seen about those movies. I'm like, that looks like dog shit, and I will not be viewing it.
So for those of you who don't want to spend 90 minutes of your life watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 synced up to Dark Side of the Moon, there's a video on YouTube. Just search it. It should be the first thing that pops up, called Blart Side of the Mall. It's a little 10-minute video that compiles the moments from the movie that Griffin talks about on that particular podcast episode. It compiles them and sets them to the music of Pink Floyd, so you get a sense of what the full experience would be like. Also, they have a great podcast. They only have a few episodes because they do it once a year, so it's really fun to listen to, even if you haven't seen the movie. Which again, don't watch the movie. It's bad.
It's bad. It sucks and is bad. Yeah, I won't be watching that, but maybe I'll look up that YouTube supercut.
Yeah. And I also watched Blood Rage, which is a slasher movie from the 80s that's set on Thanksgiving that I think was made for $20. Not much to say. Had the time of my life with it. It's terrible, but a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What have you been enjoying recently?
Oh, I'm not gonna do specific recommendations about the music that I've been listening to because no one gives a shit, and none of our listeners are gonna listen to any of my weird niche recommendations. But just so you're aware, I have gone again down the deep rabbit hole of the Chinese black metal scene, and I have been listening to a ton of Chinese black metal again. And just I can recommend you some bands off mic. I feel like this is not what our listeners are going to be like. Yeah, I'll go check that out. But been enjoying that a lot. And then in terms of movies, I did get a chance to watch a couple of movies this week. I watched When Evil Lurks, which you had recommended to me, an Argentinian horror film that I think we've brought up on the podcast before as one of your recommendations.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did recommend it.
Yeah, good movie. Solid, like, extreme horror from Argentina. So if you're a fan of gore and fucked up shit, just +1 to David's previous recommendation about that movie. And I also watched Funny Games. I watched the original Austrian version because there's 2 versions of that movie. The director, Michael Haneke, made the original version in Austria and then did a shot-for-shot US remake with English-speaking actors. So I watched the original Austrian version, but they're shot-for-shot the same, so it's basically the same movie. I had never seen Funny Games before. I don't know if you've ever seen Funny Games.
I've never seen either because I remember when that remake was coming out and I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything about Michael Haneke, still don't know much about him, honestly, but looked really interesting and I never saw it.
Yeah. It is fucked up. It is I've added it to my list of evil films. So if you want to feel really, really awful this holiday season, go ahead and put on Funny Games. It has nothing to do with Christmas. But if you're just you want to go down just a hole of depression and depravity and just wonder if there is anything good or redeemable about the human race, or if we should all just go extinct and die, watch Funny Games. So that's what I've enjoyed in media this week. I love an evil film. I really loved Funny Games. Highly recommend it to people like me who love feeling bad, because that is a feel bad film. Yeah.
And speaking of feeling bad and wondering if there's anything redeemable about the human race, let's transition to our discussion of today's movie. I feel this was a listener recommendation.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm just being a little goofball. This was submitted by our listener, Emilie. If you guys want to submit a movie, hit us up on our social medias. We'll try to work it into our schedule. And if you'd like to come on the podcast, talk to us about that too.
Yeah.
This is a direct-to-video Christmas horror movie. We are talking Santa's Sleigh from 2005, directed by David Steiman, starring wrestler Bill Goldberg.
Yeah.
We never heard of this movie before this.
Nope.
Not wrestling fans either. So there's also not a ton to talk about in terms of the background of this movie that I could find. It's a direct-to-video holiday horror movie. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah, the most notable thing that I saw is that it's executive produced by Brett Ratner. So there's someone with money behind this, which is probably how they got like Bill Goldberg and also a couple of other surprising bigger name actors to cameo.
Yeah, Bill Goldberg has a pretty brief film and TV career. A lot of direct-to-video stuff, a lot of guest roles on, like, recently at NCIS Los Angeles, stuff like that. And the director, David Steiman, is a production assistant to Brett Ratner. So that's how he got this gig, I think. Human garbage can, Brett Ratner.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry. We should mention Brett Ratner sucks shit.
So this is David Steiman's only director credit and his only writer credit. But I think we should, in lieu of discussing the background behind this movie, because there's not a ton that we can really find, we should talk about the genre of Christmas horror broadly.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting one because it really starts with Black Christmas. I think as far as like a notable Christmas horror movie, Black Christmas from 74, a foundational slasher movie if there ever was one.
And not just the first Christmas horror, but maybe one of the first holiday horror period, because Halloween had not come out yet when Black Christmas came out. Black Christmas 74, Halloween 78. So there was a Christmas slasher before there was a Halloween slasher, really. As far as I know, unless there's some smaller entry that predates Halloween that was set on the holiday. But like holiday horror, it seems like in general is the invention of Black Christmas. But yeah, like probably the definitive Christmas horror movie. I know like there's some other stuff that we can get into as well, but Black Christmas pretty much is up there even now.
Yeah, I think there's tons of Halloween horror that we could talk about, but when it comes to Christmas horror, it's pretty much Black Christmas. And I would say stuff like Gremlins as well. Recently, I know Krampus was like pretty successful, but after Black Christmas and after the slasher craze kicks off in the 80s, it seems like it's mostly the Christmas slasher, the Christmas horror movie is mostly relegated to low budget direct-to-video type films.
Like there's that Jack Frost movie with like an evil snowman or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah.
You know, you go on Tubi and type in Christmas horror, and there's plenty of slop out there.
Yeah. Although Silent Night, Deadly Night, a movie that we may eventually cover on this podcast, maybe December 2024. Potentially, because that is a fun one. So it's not all terrible.
Yeah. But it's interesting that they really just have there's a handful they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also like quite a few anthologies that aren't particularly good either. So definitely feels like someone out there needs to come back and make a really solid Christmas horror flick.
Krampus was almost that for me. The problem that I had with that movie is it's not violent enough. It's the movie's good. The performances are good in it. Like Adam Scott's great, Toni Collette's great. The kids are all fine in that movie. The scares are good. The monster design in that movie is very good, I think. The kills are almost all off screen, and you get like no gore at all in that movie. I think Krampus is rated PG-13. I don't even think they made it R.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem for a slasher movie, right? It's like it's kind of a hybrid slasher monster movie, right? And it's like if fucking evil toys are eating children in that movie, I gotta see that shit. You can't you can't hide that from me, man. You know? Or like an evil fucking toy is, you know, stabbing somebody to death under a car or whatever happens. It's like, show it to me. It can't all happen off screen. So Krampus was almost there for me, but that really held it back. For me. I needed some blood and guts in that damn thing.
I'm hoping that Terrifier 3 delivers when it comes out next year.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
That's apparently going to be a Christmas slasher.
It is going to be a Christmas movie.
But we're talking about Santa's Sleigh, which is a horror comedy, and I use horror very loosely,
really lightly.
It's almost an action movie with just how it treats the Santa character that's played by Bill Goldberg here. It's not...
There is nothing scary about Bill Goldberg in this movie.
Yeah.
He is not frightening visually, and his performance is not scary, right? It's like he is the quote unquote horror villain. He's like the slasher of this movie, but first of all, he's the most compelling performance in the entire movie. Like he is the most fun to watch, which is good. But he's also just not frightening whatsoever. He's like way funnier than he is scary. Which is fine. But yeah, horror very, very loosely. It's much more, I think you're right, an action comedy. Also weirdly has kind of the tone and vibes and visual aesthetic of like a Disney Channel original movie. This thing looked like Hocus Pocus to me.
Oh yeah, because this was direct to video. They probably shot it for $50.
Right.
The kid actors in this movie both seem like they're acting in the Disney Channel original movie.
And again, acting. We're using that word very loosely, especially in the case of the main kid. The character's name is Nicholas. That kid sucks. His performance is very bad.
I thought Nick was the guy playing Nick was trying.
Yeah, I think he was trying and failing.
I also think he was trying way too hard.
Yeah.
For a movie in which wrestler Bill Goldberg is cast as Santa Claus, who is actually the son of Satan.
Yes, he is the devil's version of Jesus, right? Like what we learn in the movie is that like just like how Jesus was immaculately conceived by God via Mary, the devil apparently did the same thing to some other virgin, and that is how Santa Claus was made. He's the devil's immaculately conceived son. which by the way, to give this movie credit where credit is due, great fucking idea.
Oh yeah.
Very, very fun premise. I will get to it, but I wish that they had like done more with that. But very, very fun premise and batshit insane, which I love.
Yeah. So the movie opens on a rich family having Christmas dinner, and it's your typical, they're arguing about shit.
Is it typical? Because most of these people look and are acting like porn stars.
Well, for some reason, James Caan is here.
Okay, David. Why the fuck is James Caan?
I have no goddamn idea.
What is he? Did Brett Ratner have like dirt on him? He was like, James, you wouldn't want those photos to come out, would you? Be in my fucking Bill Goldberg Demon Santa movie.
Star of Godfather 1 and... he's not in the second one.
Yeah.
R.E.P. Sonny. But star of The Godfather, James Caan.
And
just...
Misery and so many... I mean, like legendary actor James Caan.
Great actor.
R.I.P. by the way.
Rest in peace.
But what the flying fuck is he doing in Santa's sleigh? And don't get me wrong, I'm glad he's here because this opening scene would be insufferably annoying until Goldberg shows up if it wasn't for James Caan. And it is pretty quick. Thankfully, the action gets moving in this movie really, really fast. But like the little bit that David was describing where like the family's all like fighting and shit, it's just all the most obnoxious lines of dialogue delivered in the most annoying way imaginable.
This did give me my first laugh of the movie though,
yeah.
Which is James Caan praying. And he says, "Dear God, don't let this turkey taste like a shoe like it did last year." Laughed my ass off at that.
Yeah.
And then
because James Caan was delivering it, the guy can fucking act, unlike almost everyone else in this film.
And then his wife starts feeling up the guy that's sitting next to her at the table.
Yes. This is where it really started feeling like a porno parody to me.
Oh yeah.
But then pretty much immediately, Bill Goldberg bursts through the chimney.
He bursts through the chimney, literally like the Kool-Aid Man.
Yes.
And just kills everyone.
Yes.
He starts his first thing he does is he kicks the dog.
Yes, there's like a little Pomeranian in a dumb Christmas sweater, and he just punts it, and you just see this Pomeranian puppet hit the ceiling fan and fucking rock it around the room. That did get a laugh out of me, and I do not enjoy violence against animals in cinema as a general rule, but that one was quite amusing to me. Just seeing this little Pomeranian puppet flying around on the ceiling fan. Yeah, and then he somersaults on the table.
Yeah.
And fucking stabs James Caan's hands and pins them to the table. What else?
He lights the wife's head on fire. And then he drowns her in like a vat, like a bucket of eggnog that they have.
Which, by the way, drowning in eggnog, bad way to go.
Yeah.
I just like drowning in something thick like that. Just seems disgusting And also, you know, you don't want to drown in anything, but I feel like drowning in something thick and viscous like that is like even worse.
I don't like the thick and viscous.
Yeah.
Those are two words that should not be in the same
I just
sentence.
feel like you'd be simultaneously drowning and also throwing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He takes the Christmas tree star,
Yes.
like the tree topper off, and throws it like a ninja star at someone who's running away. And he finally kills James Caan by like shoving a turkey leg into his mouth and then slamming his head on the table.
Yes, yeah. Decent gore effects in this first scene. I wish it was more violent, which is a note about the whole movie, the movie as a whole.
Yeah.
I wish this thing was way more violent than it is. That being said, decent gore effects in this first scene. Like James Caan's hands being pinned to the table and stuff, and some of the other blood we see. Like, it looks okay.
Yeah, I think the kills are all fun and creative, but I agree. This movie's rated R. There's plenty of fucks and shits thrown around. We get a little bit of nudity. Let's see some blood and guts too, people.
Yeah.
Like that. This is what we're here for.
So that's how this movie starts.
All things considered, nice opening.
Yes. Yeah.
A solid little opening. We knew nothing about this movie going in. I watched this after watching, you know, James Caan's family getting murdered by a giant wrestler dressed as Santa Claus. I was like, okay, I'm in for what this movie has on offer.
Yeah. I was optimistic after this opening scene. I feel like a thing that I'll get to throughout this is I like the first half of this movie, which sort of continues the tone of the first scene. I like the first half of this movie better than I like the second half. I think the second half it starts dragging a little bit for me. But yeah, this opening scene I had no problem with.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. So then we cut to the worst title card of all time. It looks like someone made it in like Microsoft like Paint. It's like looks like word art. But it says Satan's sleigh, and then the Satan rearranges itself into Santa's. Which I think is funny. I do think that in order to get this movie greenlit, someone just like went into like Brett Ratner's office or whatever and wrote on a whiteboard Santa and then like switched the letters around and was like Satan and was like and
then drew
That's
a dollar
movie,
sign
right?
through the S.
Yeah.
The S's.
Yes, James Cameron style. But the S into a dollar sign. What if Santa Claus was bad? Anyway, so then from there, the opening credits here are kind of fun because they're in like a little like storybook and there's like illustrations and stuff. I thought it was all right.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
We open at Hell Township.
Yes.
Because guess what? Hell froze over. That's the joke. It's Christmas, and it's hell.
Yes.
I guess.
Hell Township.
It's Christmas Eve, and we're in this little Jewish deli, and I have to complain about this old bitch. This crusty ass old lady complaining about paying $4.75 for a sandwich from a Jewish deli.
And then she's haggling over the price. She's like trying to argue the price at the register. And I'm like, you don't fucking haggle at a deli. What are you fucking doing?
For $4.75. We just had sandwiches before this recording that were like $16 a piece from like a national sandwich chain.
And I know that this was 2005 and like inflation has happened, but $4.75 in 2005, like you're doing totally fine.
Yeah. I would shove this woman out of the way and buy 20 sandwiches.
Yeah, it's like a roast
this
beef
guy.
sandwich that she ordered too. It's like she's not getting a fucking grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Like no, I completely agree. This old lady is being so fucking rude. She's also being anti-Semitic to the owner of this Jewish deli because he's like, happy holidays. And she's like, don't give me any of that shit. It's Merry Christmas. Nah, nah, nah.
Yeah.
Just immediately just the fucking crustiest old bitch you've ever seen. Just a horrible old woman.
But soon after she drives back home on a nice little country road, and Santa Claus shows up in his sleigh that is pulled by a bison.
Yeah, so David,
and they call it a reindeer throughout the movie, and no one realizes that this is a fucking bison.
It's clearly it is so clearly like a buffalo, right? And I know buffalo and bison are different things. It's very clearly a bison,
Sure.
right? And did no one involved with this production know what the fuck a reindeer looked like? Because everybody's calling it a reindeer. Santa calls it a reindeer. All of the other characters refer to it as a reindeer. It's just so clearly like a full-on Western bison. And it's like huge and white. So Santa is tailgating this old lady in his sleigh. And she's like getting pissed off that he's like on her ass. I think he has like something that's the equivalent of like a horn that he's like basically honking in his sleigh at her. And she's like, fuck you. She's also driving like a fucking maniac.
Yeah, she's like trying to light a cigarette or something, and she's like swerving.
Yeah, just swerving all
like
over the road.
like peeking over, like barely peeking over the steering wheel, doing just like the stereotypical old lady who doesn't know where she's driving kind of thing.
Which, by the way, the visual gag of her barely being able to see over the dashboard did make me laugh.
It's solid.
It got a little chuckle out of it.
What made me groan is Bill Goldberg, Santa Claus, like shoves her off the road and makes her car flip. And as he does this, he says, "Move, bitch, get out the way."
Yes, that one was okay. So this movie is packed wall to wall with one-liners. Almost all of the dialogue in this movie is one-liners. Some of it, like the "move, bitch, get out the way," fucking suck so much ass. However, some of them are good, and some of them got laughs out of me. It was real hit and miss for me on the one-liners.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any more written down, but the formula of this movie is write a bunch of Christmas puns, have Bill Goldberg show up and kill people with wrestling moves, wash, rinse, repeat. I don't think he has more than 2 lines said in succession until about halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Everything he's spewing is one-liners.
Yeah, totally.
It is Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze level.
Which
one-liners and puns.
By the way, speaking of Schwarzenegger, I don't know if you were getting big Terminator vibes from Santa in this movie, or if it was just me. But there were a few scenes where I was like, it's giving very T-800 to me. Not like the performance necessarily, but some of the situations. Like when he goes to like the titty bar later, it just felt very Terminator. It felt very, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Comparing this movie to Terminator in any regard is a bit much for me, but you're not wrong.
What I'm saying is I think this movie is stealing from Terminator a little bit.
Yeah.
And not necessarily well, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very basic formula to Terminator that I think a lot of action movies and horror movies, science fiction movies have followed. And this basically just boiling down to treating the antagonist as like some kind of unstoppable, unrelenting force. I think there's a lot of movies that do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the violence in this movie is just excuses for Santa to kill people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So Santa runs this old lady off the road, has a shitty one-liner. I did want to say they actually do flip and crash a stunt car here. And I appreciated that. I appreciated that in this dumb direct-to-video Christmas action comedy slasher, we're actually getting a stunt driver to drive and crash a car.
Yeah, it's respectable.
Yes, thought it was good. Did need to see more of this horrible old bat dying, because basically the car crashes and that's it. And I was like, no, you got to show me the aftermath here. This lady sucked. But they cut away from it. And then we go back to the kid, Nicholas, who was working in the Jewish deli.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like going home for the day, right?
Yeah, he's going home for the day. He works there with his friend Mackenzie, Mary.
I think it's Mary.
Girl.
blonde
girl in movie. They get gifts from Mr. Green. Like, he gives her a snow globe. He gets a
It's
he
like
gets
a clock.
a world clock that
Yeah.
shows you different time zones, and they're clearly not super into the gifts, but they're very nice and appreciative about it.
Yeah.
And they ride home together. Nick kind of moans about how he never really liked Christmas because he never got the presents he wanted.
Yeah, he was like, I always wanted an Optimus Prime or a Castle Grayskull, and instead I got an Easy Bake Oven.
We discover that Nick lives with his grandpa, and he hears something when he opens the door. He's calling for his grandpa. The house is dark. He hears something, heads down to the basement, and oh no, it's a fake out jump scare. This is like the only moment of any real tension in any pretense this movie has about like actually building tension.
Right.
It's like this scene basically.
Yeah. It's also this is one of like 2 total jump scares in the entire movie.
Yeah, he wanders down to the basement. His grandpa sneaks up behind him and scares him.
Yeah.
His grandpa, who's clearly just like dollar store Doc Brown.
1000%. Yes. It's very, very much a Doc Brown type. And their dynamic is very much like a Marty McFly, Doc Brown type of situation, right? So Grandpa starts immediately talking about his bunker.
Yeah, Grandpa's built a bunker.
He built a bunker. Grandpa's a prepper. And he like takes Nicholas, his grandson, like into the bunker and starts like showing him shit in there. There's like all these TV monitors that are set up. There's like a huge steel like bank vault door to get into the place. It's insane. And like here the kid Nicholas is basically like, he's talking about how like everybody in town kind of thinks his grandpa's crazy, and he's like, well, I've defended him in the past, but this does seem fucking nuts. There's like a thing here with like a nutcracker, and it shoots if you don't poke holes in the chestnut shell, it'll fucking explode or something. And was this clear to you?
No, it's Chekhov's nutcracker.
Yes, it's Chekhov's nutcracker, and some reason
it comes back in the end.
And for some reason, it shoots nuts like bullets.
Yeah,
I was unclear on it, but if you use the nutcracker, it will fire a nut off as if it is just a stray 38 caliber shell.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It comes back later. But Grandpa's a tinkerer.
Yeah.
He's clearly got, tons of stuff that he's working on down there, but he just built a bunker in his basement. We get a cutaway where Santa gets robbed by some guy and he stabs him in the eye with a candy cane.
I
chucks him in the dumpster.
I did want to call out, this is one of the funny lines, the lines that made me laugh at least. This mugger, when he like comes up to Santa and like tries to rob him, says, "What up, Santa bitch?" which made me laugh. But yeah, and I like him getting stabbed in the eye with the candy cane. Also, Bill Goldberg has a good moment because he's like sucking on the candy cane so it's sharp. When he takes it out of his mouth, he's kind of like because he's like, I know where I'm gonna put this.
Yeah, and I think he picks the robber up over his head,
yeah,
and just hurls him into the dumpster.
Yeah, some great like wrestling moves from Goldberg,
yeah,
especially in this first half of the movie.
Yeah. But I like that this scene is just, it's been 10 minutes and the audience is getting bored, so we need to kill someone even if it interrupts the flow of another scene.
Which, kudos to this movie because it was right.
Yeah.
Right? It did need to throw in another kill here, and that's one of the things I like about the first half of this movie, is it just keeps the Santa carnage coming.
Yeah, because Grandpa's going to tell Nick about the true secret behind Christmas, and he gets out this big tome that's called the Book of Claus.
Yes.
And basically tells him the story that Santa is the Immaculate Conception of Satan and a virgin. And on the anniversary, on the anniversary of, you thought Prince of Darkness was creative. You thought Prince of Darkness had a take on religion.
Yeah. Little did I know Santa's sleigh was out here.
John Carpenter never asked, what if Santa was the son of Satan?
Was the son of the devil. The immaculately conceived son of the devil. And that's not even as weird as this movie gets. We haven't even gotten to the curling match yet.
Yeah. On the anniversary of the birth of Santa, there were always a bunch of unexplained deaths and murders. It became known as the Day of Slaying, which led to the people of this legend or whatever. They had a Mass of Christ, which leads to Christmas, where they would pray to God for protection. And the story cuts off here because Mary comes over to visit. And she's her dad's a hunter, which is a joke throughout this movie. She brings over. She says her dad just shot a wolverine.
Yes.
And brings over rotting wolverine meat for a Christmas present.
What the flying fuck is this joke?
I don't know.
Because she brings over like a plate covered in tinfoil and is like, it's Wolverine. And then, the grandpa looks at it and it's like rotting and has like flies and shit on it. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it's like, they don't dwell on it. It's just a one-off gag with the Wolverine meat. And then it's like, okay. And then she gives, weirdly, Mary in the earlier scene when her and Nicholas are like leaving work, he's like trying to put the moves on her and she like shuts him down. But then all of a sudden in this scene, she like wants to be his girlfriend, and that's basically what she does for the rest of the movie. The switch for me was not really clear.
Yeah.
But here she comes over with a present for him, and she gives him this package it's not like a box, it's just like an irregularly shaped wrapped object. And he takes the wrapping off and it's a fucking gun.
And he asks her like, what the fuck? You got me a gun?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, open it up. And it's a transformer.
It's a transformer. But
but it looks like a gun.
The visual moment of him just opening, like taking the bow off and opening the wrapping paper, and it's just a fucking gun. Made me laugh so hard. And then like it being a transformer kind of undercut the moment. Also, by the way, this never comes back.
No, it doesn't.
It amounts to absolutely nothing. Other than the visual joke of just this kid unwrapping a gun.
So we cut to a mass in town, and the priest is talking about how people are greedy around Christmas, and we've lost the true meaning of Christmas, while he's also begging for more money in the collection plate.
Yeah, and playing it off like, this is for the poor and needy. I see a lot of coins in that plate. I want to see bills.
And then he drives to a strip club in his Land Rover.
This is what he's doing with the bills.
This is what he's doing. A lot of singles.
Yes. We actually see him taking like the same money like that was in the collection plate and like stuffing it in like a stripper's like little garter thing on her leg. It's pretty fun.
And then Santa pulls up in his sleigh and tosses the keys to his sleigh to the valet.
Which, okay, this is like a small town. This is like Hell Township is supposed to be like a little podunk town. Why the fuck does this titty bar have valets? Is it just for this joke?
I think so.
It makes no goddamn sense.
The writers were like, okay, what if Santa Claus handed the keys to his sleigh to a valet outside the strip club? And that was it. They didn't give any logical consideration to why a small town strip club would have a valet, and two, how or why a sleigh would require keys.
Yeah, yes, right. And also why the valet is just mostly unsurprised by this. He's not like, what the fuck? Also, he has no questions about the sleigh being pulled by a huge bison because he thinks it's a reindeer, like everybody in this movie does. So Santa gives the valet the keys to the sleigh, which now that you say it is so fucking stupid, and walks into this titty bar.
He strangles the bouncer with a wreath.
Oh yeah, because the bouncer isn't gonna let him in for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so he strangles this guy with a wreath, which is pretty cool. Does a couple more wrestling moves here.
Yeah, he forcibly kisses one of the strippers under the mistletoe
after saying ho ho hos. which is
Oh, that's right.
which is
Oh, thank you for keeping track of the puns for me, because I lost my fucking mind.
the ho ho ho's one stuck out because I was like, that is so obvious and so lazy, and Goldberg's delivery of it kind of made it work for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then he starts fighting everyone.
This is my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, this is I like the intro. This is probably my favorite scene too. I really like he disinfects the stripper pole as like a little cutaway gag after he's killed a few people. He disinfects the stripper pole and then rips it, grabs it, and starts using it like a bow staff.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sick.
Yeah, and then like so he's like beating the shit out of everybody in this bar. He's like killing everybody. And the last thing that he does with the stripper pole is he like gives it, he like hands it to the last guy who's like kind of cowering in a corner, and like hands it to him, and he electrocutes him somehow. How does this?
I think he like hands it to him and then somehow kicks him into the air so the pole hits like Christmas lights that are on the ceiling.
Oh, yeah,
and then it electrocutes him.
Yeah, and it zaps the shit out of him. It's very much like a classic electrocution where like the guy, you can see the guy's skeleton and shit. And he's like completely fried afterwards. He's like, there's like shitty CGI smoke coming off his body. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. And then before he leaves, he lights a lump of coal and then tosses it like a grenade.
One of many varieties of Santa grenade.
Actually, no, it sets on fire. This is more like a Molotov.
Yes.
But there's like a bunch of women and strippers and a couple patrons or something like cowering in a corner.
Yeah.
And he tosses it to them and walks out of the building
Yes.
as the whole as the room sets on fire.
Yes. And says naughty.
And they all just roast alive in this strip club.
Yeah. Yeah. This set piece sort of rocks.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll revisit this movie frequently, but I may look up this scene if it's like on YouTube or something and just watch this again. Because yeah, it's fun time.
We're back at Nick's house. And,
oh, sorry. By the way, so I just want to point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
At the end of this bar scene, when he's walking out, his sleigh with his bison is outside of the strip club again, and the bison does like barf up the valet hat. So the bison ate the valet.
Right.
Which I think is kind of a funny joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back at Nick's house, and they're all sitting around watching TV. They have a Christmas Eve demolition derby in this town, and that's what they're watching on TV. I don't know why that's the detail that I picked out, but that sounds fun.
Yeah, that should be a tradition.
Grandpa goes to bed, and she starts telling Nick that his grandpa is weird. We have to reinforce this idea that grandpa's weird, and people in town think he's crazy.
Yeah.
And Nick obviously gets offended.
Right.
Rightfully so, gets offended. And then starts insulting her dad because her dad's a hunter, and he says like, do you want my grandpa to, go around shooting animals and have an NRA card or whatever like your dad? And so then she gets pissed off and leaves.
Yeah. It's a very whatever argument between the two of them.
We
needed her to leave so that he can read the book, basically.
Yeah. So he opens up the Book of Claus and starts reading it. It's in Old Norse, which we didn't mention because Grandpa speaks Old Norse. And Nick knows a little bit of it, but he starts reading it, and we get this might be my other favorite sequence of the movie.
I did like this.
Where he tells the rest of the story,
and it is done visually. It's done in like Rankin Bass style stop motion, like those old Rankin Bass Christmas movies, like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Little Drummer Boy, like those Christmas specials. It's done in that style of like stop motion, like puppetry, which is kind of fun. Yeah, it's kind of a nice little touch here and somewhat creative.
This movie is not a good movie, but in parts, it's trying.
Yes.
And I find that charming and endearing.
It does have some creative ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just like fully just soulless content. You know, like there's some creative ideas behind what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the little Rankin Bass touch. It's very nice.
Yeah. So basically, the second half of this legend is that in the 11th century, an angel came down to Earth and took the form of an old man and saw Santa on a frozen lake and challenged him to a contest, basically to slide rocks across the lake to like a fishing hole.
It's a curling match.
It's curling.
Yes.
They're curling. In the animation, the rocks are shaped like curling stones. Later in the movie, they actually just have a curling match.
Yes.
So if Santa wins, he'll take the angel down to hell forever. And if the angel wins, then the day of slaying must become a day of joy, and the killings must stop for 1,000 years. And the angel wins, and Nick realizes basically that, okay, the 1,000-year bet is over, and Santa has come back to kill people.
And I have said that this main actor, the kid who plays Nick, is bad. One of his worst line deliveries is right here after like the Rankin Bass like animated segment ends. Which, by the way, just some funny stuff in the Rankin Bass segment too. Like it's at a point when he like loses the match, like Santa gets all pissed off and he like shoots flames from his mouth and shit. It's just very funny and fun and good. But at the end of that little segment, when he has the realization that David just described, he goes, "Shit, that was exactly 1,000 years ago. The bet's over." and I was like, didn't want to take that again. Maybe one or two more times. Could have gotten a little bit more oomph out of that line. No, that's the one. All right. That's the best take. Okay. Just so flat. Anyway, sorry, I feel like I'm being really mean to this poor actor. But yeah, so yeah, he realizes that Santa is killing people this year.
So Nick goes upstairs and logs into the internet, and he goes on to a website that's obviously like a parody of NORAD, but it's called GONAD. It's the Global Operations Network for Aerospace Events, and they have a Santa tracker website. And basically, he types in like a chat feature. Is the Santa tracker real? And
they're like, how old are you?
How old are you? 16. And they're like, no, Santa's not fucking real, you loser.
Yeah.
It's literally just a throwaway joke.
Right.
But it made me laugh.
It is pretty funny.
And so the next day it's Christmas. We get a scene of Santa just running the fuck through a nativity scene, which is fun. And he like cuts the head off of one of the wise men or something with his axe.
Yeah, I think it might be Joseph. Yeah. Also, I don't know if it's here or elsewhere, but in various scenes of this movie of just Santa carnage, there is original music, I think, that was written for this movie.
Yes.
We need to talk about this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's this might be one of the moments of it, but just overall in this movie, anytime there's kind of like a chase sequence or like a montagey bit, there's like pop punkish original songs with the fucking laziest and dumbest lyrics I have ever
Yeah.
heard.
If it's not like a royalty free Christmas standard, like a Joy to the World or something, it's this shit.
Yes.
And it finally clicked with me when we got to the end credits, and I was like, oh, is this an original song for the movie?
Yeah,
and then 3 more played, and it got down to the bottom of the credits, and I saw someone named Jim Diamond. His name is all over these fucking credits, either as performed by Jim Diamond's Pop Monsoon, or performed by the Gore Gore Girls, produced by Jim Diamond. So, Jim, I hope you were paid very well for writing and producing all this shitty Christmas pop punk music.
It sucks so fucking bad. There's one song in here that literally the lyrics of to the entire song that plays in this movie is just Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it just repeats over and over. And I was like, what? It literally sounds like the placeholder music that you would put in like a rough cut of this while the actual music was being finished. But it's just what they released it with. I thought it was so delightfully shitty.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, he's destroying the nativity. He's fucking
There's a scene where these two little shitty kids they open up their presents and their bombs and their heads blow off like in a Looney Tunes cartoon. Like it's just smoke. It's like an empty, like there's no head and just smoke emanating from their neck stump.
Yes. And their family kind of reacts like, what the fuck? But like not the way that you would expect a family to react if their children's heads fucking blew up. Yeah, kind of a funny little joke, the heads exploding.
Yeah, we also get a scene of the priest at mass the next morning.
The priest at mass is like talking about the victims of the fire at the titty bar.
Yeah.
And he's like, we should all pray for them. Like, even though they were sinners, we should like keep them in our hearts or whatever. And
that he lists them all by name, which is funny.
The funniest name, because all of the strippers have very funny, like punny stripper names. My favorite one is Test Tickler.
Yeah. And then the real like next big scene here is Santa breaks into the Jewish deli.
Yeah.
That's closed. And the owners in there are, telling him, hey, we're closed. Then why are you there? What are you doing on Christmas Day? I know you're Jewish, but what are you doing? Just stay home. Just stay home.
Taking the opportunity to get some prep work done or something.
Maybe I don't know.
Or maybe he lives there.
He's got his bedroom above the deli.
Yeah.
So Santa breaks down the door of the deli and then dives through the glass deli counter to attack the owner. Picks him up, stabs him with the menorah to the wall.
This is maybe the goriest kill in the movie, because it's like right through, the menorah goes right through his neck, and there's like a decent amount of like blood here, and yeah, he's like pinned to the wall with it. Again, like decent gore effect.
Yeah,
doesn't look bad.
Yeah, solid. And he walks outside. There's a bunch of Jewish people dressed in like the traditional,
like Orthodox
kind of
Jewish
clothing. Yeah, and he just growls at them like a dog, which I thought was funny. I don't know.
Later,
but I cannot overestimate how much Bill Goldberg is putting this movie on his back.
Yes.
To carry it across the finish line.
He is totally like, Bill Goldberg is, yeah, you're completely right, totally carrying this movie. Like, it's like anytime he's on screen, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not bad. And anytime he's gone, I'm like, really need Goldberg back on screen.
And he's just doing his wrestling stuff. Like, he's not. I think there are probably lines in here that are references to, catchphrases he had from his wrestling career.
Yeah.
But he's clearly just playing Santa like his wrestling persona.
Yeah.
Which.
But he's a good performer.
But he's doing it. You know, wrestlers, they're performers.
Yeah.
Not all of them have had careers like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah.
In terms of like their crossover appeal to movie audiences, but he's doing it.
But I do think it's in my notes, so I will say this verbatim. I think Goldberg's good in this.
Yeah.
I think he's good in this. I think most of the performances in the movie are bad, and I think that Goldberg is not bad. I think he's doing a good job.
Nick stops at a gas station, and we get this. We haven't mentioned this, but there's quite a few. We have a handful of like R words and homophobic slurs throughout this movie.
Yeah.
This gas station owner is black. Played by the actor. In the prisoner on the boat at the end of the Dark Knight, right? The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Who throws the detonator out of the window.
This guy's also a wrestler, by the way.
Okay, because I've seen him before, but that's all I knew him from.
Yeah.
But he's very much kind of being played as a black stereotype here. Where Nick goes up to the counter to buy gum. he says to him, "I've never seen you here before." And the gas station owner's like, "Just moved here, homeboy. Too much damn violence into hood."
Yeah.
My eyes kind of rolled back in my fucking skull there.
Yeah, huge eye roll moment. Yeah, not a super progressive film. Santa's Sleigh. In 2005 too. I feel like we were already a little bit past that. Feels like a very 90s joke. The too much violence in the hood joke feels like a very 80s or 90s joke.
Yeah.
By 2005, it was pretty late to be doing that.
Nick hears over the radio that the deli's been attacked. He heads over there and finds that Mr. Green is somehow still alive.
With the menorah stuck through his neck, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny him talking with this thing like...
And he just has one line. He just says, "There is a Santa Claus." And then he dies.
And he dies, yeah. And the cops show up. The cops respond at this point.
The most donut munching cops that I've seen in a movie.
Quite literally donut munching.
Yeah, they don't munch donuts in this scene, but I did call it in my notes. I was like, these are some donut munchers. And then a couple scenes later, they're chowing down on some donuts.
Yes. So they immediately arrest Nicholas because he's in this ruined deli with a dead guy pinned to the wall with a menorah, right? Yeah. So they're basically like, well, we got to take you in for questioning because you're at the scene of this crime. And then one of the cops, so the Orthodox Jewish guys are still hanging out outside, like they're like just on the sidewalk. And one of the cops is like, grab those Amish guys too, which I thought was sort of a funny joke.
Yeah.
That these cops don't know the difference between Amish people and Orthodox Jews.
They go down to the station and he talks to Captain Cock.
Okay, so there is Captain Toby Cock is his name. But before he gets to Captain Cock, I did want to point out that the guy who sends him in to talk to Captain Cock, the sign on his desk says Sergeant Dick Zucker.
Okay.
Which is so fucking juvenile and stupid.
Oh, so they're doing a thing here.
And it made me laugh really hard. Sergeant Dick Zucker. It really got me.
Captain Cock's name is spelled Caulk, like caulk, like in construction or whatever.
Yeah.
And Captain Cock's dressed as Santa Claus.
Yeah, Nick, another homophobic joke here because Captain Cock is dressed as Santa, but he has a pink sweater on underneath. And Nicholas says something like, "Don you now your gay apparel," or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, all right. Once again, 2005, people. Let's calm down.
Yeah, this movie's batting average for jokes is not high at all.
No. Although Dick Zucker did earn it a little bit of of goodwill from me.
Yeah. Nick's going on about Santa Claus is real. He's killing people. And the main thing here is he says that we have until 7:00 before the killing stops because then Christmas is over.
Right, because 7:00 is the time at the pole. It will be midnight.
Yeah.
At the North Pole.
That's where the world clock that he got from Mr. Green comes back. And the captain's like, "Get the fuck out of here." And then outside the office, as Nick leaves, the cops are actually munching donuts, looking at the map, and looking at a map on the wall where they have flags marking where the killings are, and the killings are taking the shape of a Christmas tree, which is a cool idea that never comes back.
Yeah, never explored at all. It's basically just an excuse for a one-off joke because one of the cops is like, "I think the next killing's going to be right here, like the star on top of the Christmas tree." And then the other cop's like, "I don't even know if it is a Christmas tree. It looks to me like an irregular parallelogram or some shit." And the other cop just looks at him like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
So Santa shows up and tases Captain Cock in the balls.
Yeah.
And then winks at the camera as he steps out of the office, and off screen, everyone else in the station's been killed. The donut munching cops have been killed.
Yeah, big complaint from me here. We really needed to see Bill Goldberg killing these cops.
Yeah.
As soon as he left Captain Cock's office, and it was clear that we had missed him killing all of these guys on screen, and then it just happened off screen. I was like, okay, kind of fuck you, movie, because I really needed to see another action sequence of Bill Goldberg killing a bunch of people in this movie.
And it's a really brief. There's a couple visual jokes here, but it's all on screen very briefly, where one of the cops is dead, and there's a chalk outline around him, and there's a little Santa hat on top of the chalk outline. One of the other cops is, again, just pinned to... A lot of people getting pinned to the wall inexplicably in this movie.
Yeah.
Somehow pinned to the wall with these tiny little green flags that were on the map.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Like the crime scene is pretty funny, like those visual gags, but like we needed to see it.
Yeah.
You know? So then Nicholas and Mary are driving. I think Mary has like picked Nicholas up from the police station or something, and they're driving, right? And there's like a cop car behind them. And it like the lights turn on and it's like pulling them over, right? And immediately, this is another one of the stupid ass one-liners that I did enjoy. The cop car is like pulling them over, and Nicholas immediately thinks that it is Captain Cock again, like just decided he wasn't done with him. And he's like, oh, it's that guy, or he's like, oh, that guy sucks. And she goes, Cock?
Yeah. And then she also says, when she notices the cop car in her rearview mirror, she says, what is it with you and Cock?
Yeah.
Okay, movie, I guess so.
It's stupid, but it did make me laugh.
Yeah. And it's Santa.
It's Santa Claus, yeah.
It's Santa Claus. Yeah, so Bill Goldberg jumps into the back of the truck, and Mary tells Nick to get the shotgun out from like under the dashboard, and he struggles to load it. Like this kid's never seen a movie before how to load a shotgun, and then finally shoots Santa off the back of the truck.
Yes, this is where we get our only other jump scare of the movie, is when he's like, Santa's in the back of the truck, and then he turns around to shoot him, and then he's not there all of a sudden, and they're like, where'd he go? And then he just like pops up in the windshield. But yeah, so he tells her to do like a Top Gun. I think he's like, do a Top Gun, and she's like, what? And he's like, stop and then accelerate, basically, to like knock him over or whatever. And then yeah, he like successfully like shoots him out of the bed of the truck, and he like rolls on the road or whatever. Good stunt work, presumably from Goldberg doing his own stunts. It's hard to tell, but him falling out of the back of the truck is like a cool stunt. Yeah.
They get back to Nick's grandpa's house. They run down to the bunker. And as they get down to the bunker, they can see on the CCTV that Grandpa has installed down there that there's carolers showing up at the house.
Dickensian carolers. Like, they are dressed like they are in the 1800s for some fucking reason. Like, Victorian England carolers.
You know, carolers seem like a thing that only exists in movies.
Completely agree. We mentioned Black Christmas earlier. Also carolers in that movie. I feel like it's never happened to me in real life.
Yeah, I'm 31.
Yeah.
I can't recall a single Christmas where we opened the front door and there were carolers outside.
Yeah.
Was this just a thing that stopped happening at some point?
I'm thinking about it, and I was in choir in middle school, and I think one year my middle school choir did do like a caroling event, and we did go caroling. I'm trying to remember if we went to like a neighborhood and knocked on random people's houses, or if we had an arrangement where we like did it at like businesses that were downtown or something. But I think I participated in caroling like one time through that, but otherwise, like, yeah, like totally have no real life experience with it beyond that. And yeah, so I wonder if it like used to be a thing and stopped, or if it's just one of those movie things that just has never been real. But yeah, so there's carolers showing up to sing carols, and they're basically like, well, you know, Santa's gonna be coming to, you know, chase us down and kill us or whatever, so we have to warn these carolers, basically. And Mary like goes to like, it's Mary, right, who like opens the door.
I think they both go up there,
yeah,
and they open the door, and as soon as they do, Santa shows up and just kills all these carolers.
Yeah, starts tossing the carolers around. This moment is sort of fun when he raises one of the carolers over his head and like throws them and shit. Fun, almost completely bloodless.
Yeah.
And we need some more gore. It's been a decent amount of time now since the titty bar scene, which is the last time we got like real blood in this movie. Well, the menorah kill, right? But other than the menorah kill, which at this point is probably like 15 minutes ago or something in this movie, 15-20 minutes ago, like it's been completely bloodless since then, and we're due for some more, and it's just the movie doesn't give it to us, unfortunately.
Yeah, there are few images in horror movies that I find more pleasing and disturbing and cool than blood and guts on snow.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Yeah.
Do more of that.
Yeah.
I want to see these carolers strewn across this fucking yard.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he just kind of throws them around, and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they run Nick and Mary as he's chucking these carolers all over the place. They run back to the bunker. And then Santa, once he's done with carolers, like goes into the house and is like looking for him. Grandpa's basically like, the bunker's not going to hold. I built it as it's not built to withstand like a direct attack, basically. Right. So then he's basically like, oh, I have an alternative plan, which is like there's like a secret exit from the bunker, like a secret tunnel to get out. So they like all kind of like go out through this secret tunnel.
Yeah, it leads to the garage where there are two snowmobiles, and they try to get them started up. One of them doesn't work, and Santa's trailing behind, and he looks on the CCTV and sees that they're outside at the garage.
Yeah, because he like busts through the door of the bunker. And
yeah, he knocks down this bank vault bunker door and follows them through the secret entrance. And you know, if you couldn't predict it from the way that the Rankin Bass animation portrayed the angel earlier in the movie, Grandpa's the angel.
Grandpa's the angel, yeah.
And this is the first time where Bill Goldberg actually has like dialogue.
Lines? Yeah.
That isn't it's still full of one-liners, but he actually has more than 2 sentences to say.
Yeah.
And the Grandpa and Santa are just insulting each other back and forth. And Grandpa's like, "You clearly have let yourself go."
Another fat joke about Goldberg, where I'm like, man looks great. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. he's 6'2" and he's wearing his weight well.
Yeah.
Better shape than I'll ever be in.
Yeah. Same.
And Grandpa gets run over by the sleigh.
Yes.
And the bison. And of course afterwards, Bill Goldberg quips Grandpa got ran over by a reindeer. Because I guess you have to.
I guess you have to.
I guess you have to do that joke,
even though it's clearly not a reindeer.
I wish this was either funnier,
yeah,
or sadder.
Yeah, same. It's kind of just a whatever moment. It's like, okay,
we just forget about Grandpa.
Yeah. And so then Nicholas and Mary, like Grandpa's dead, right?
Yeah.
And Nicholas and Mary drive away on the snowmobile, pursued by Santa Claus.
The sleigh is flying now, and he's throwing exploding presents down at them. There's some not so great compositing digital effects here.
It is sort of charmingly bad looking, though. That is sure. Like in this sequence, I was like, okay, this doesn't look great, but it sort of looks not great in a way that is still like entertaining and a little charming, as opposed to it being like difficult to watch bad.
Yeah, you know? I definitely didn't expect great things from the effects department at this point in the movie. So.
Yeah, every once in a while when you see Santa's sleigh like flying, it's got like a rocket powered, like it looks like it's like rocket boosted on the back, and you'll see it flying around like a few times in this movie, and it's very clearly just really shitty CGI. And you know, there's a certain low budget charm in how that thing moves around.
There's a few gags here of the snowmobile, you know, bursting through a group of people, and your standard snow chase gags that are in every few James Bond movies there has to be a snow level. And we're just doing those gags again, kind of.
Yeah.
They make it into town, and there's like a bell choir in town square or whatever. And one of the guy leading it is dressed as Santa Claus, And as Nick and Mary, zoom by on their snowmobile, they're like, "Santa's coming! Run away! Save yourself!" And everyone's confused, and then when they see Bill Goldberg in a sleigh being controlled by a flying bison, heading straight for them, then everyone starts fleeing in terror.
Yeah.
And the guy dressed as Santa Claus shoves some women over and he says, "Move, you skanks!"
Yes, yeah.
Which did get a laugh from me.
Yes. That guy, by the way, is the preacher from...
Oh, it is the preacher.
It's the preacher from before.
Shit.
Yes. The Move You Skanks guy is the preacher. He ends up in... like Santa grabs him or something. He ends up in the sleigh with Santa. And Santa turns to him and is like, "I just wanted to spread a little holiday fear," or some shit, and like knocks him unconscious. But yeah, that's the preacher from before.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Nick and Mary make it to go to the high school.
Yeah. They lose Santa at some point. He's not immediately behind them anymore. And yeah, they go to the high school. They go to break in. It's a little unclear to me what their plan is. But I guess they're just trying to hide in the high school.
Yeah.
But they go to break in. This did get a laugh from me. They're like, because obviously it's closed. It's Christmas Day, and the Nicholas is trying to like break through a window. And he like wraps his jacket around his fist and then punches the window, and it doesn't break. And he's just like, "Ah!" Which that did get a laugh from me. I did like him trying to punch through the window and being unable to.
The line that got a laugh from me here is Nick says let's hope the 12 Days of Christmas song is bullshit.
Yeah.
I think because like the clock's counting down, they're like a couple hours away from 7 o'clock at this point.
Yeah.
But they break into a window. Along the way, they open up. Nick opens up his backpack and finds that nutcracker that Grandpa left in there with a note that says, "The only worthwhile gifts are practical ones."
Right.
Which will come back in a few minutes. And then Bill Goldberg Santa lands his sleigh on the roof, and Bill Goldberg takes off his jacket and shows off shows off the guns.
Okay, so he looks great here. He's in like kind of like a gray tank top, and then his Santa pants with this.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about his costume.
We should talk about his Santa outfit.
His costume rules.
This look is so good. It's a really good costume. Like the rest of the costuming in the movie is like whatever. It's kind of just nothing. It's like people wearing very regular looking clothes that don't seem very thought out or specific to their character necessarily, but the Santa design, very, very good. It's his huge ass belt buckle like rocks. It like looks kind of metal, like it just looks rad. And then his belt, his like leather belt, it has like raised like leather bumps on it that kind of are reminiscent of like an ammo belt, which is also just kind of a cool look.
Yeah, I thought it kind of reminded me of a wrestling belt.
Yeah, totally.
And the buckle is a metal Santa Claus face.
Yeah.
That's huge, and it looks really cool.
It's rad.
And his look is like he's balding, but he has like long hair and a huge beard. And I think his Santa hat has like metal plates around it or something that look like they're old like Norse armor or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a very like ancient look to the costuming that also ancient and folkloric look to the costuming that also it's also like we're also playing on just traditionally what people think of as Santa Claus.
Yeah, the look is
a blend of those two styles.
Yeah, the look is very much like death metal Santa Claus. Like with the big beard and long hair, and I even think his hair has like a couple of little braids in it.
Yeah.
And it's just it looks very like death metal. And yeah, just good costume. So yeah, he takes the coat off. He's got his fucking shredded giant Bill Goldberg arms out. And he's like pursuing them through the school. they end up on like the ice. Oh, before they end up on the ice rink, there's another funny moment. I think they're in the library.
Yes.
Hiding from him. And at one point he like picks up A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and then like the kids are like trying to run away from him, and he takes the book and just like beams it at Nick, and it just nails him right in the fucking face.
I laughed for 30 seconds straight to the point where I thought I was going to pass out at that. I got all lightheaded and I had to pause the movie. I couldn't control myself. This happens sometimes where I just start laughing so hard that I think I'm gonna fall over and fucking die.
I really, really loved that moment, partially because like I was not particularly thrilled with Nicholas's character or the performance that the main actor was giving. So just seeing him beamed in the fucking, just taking that Charles Dickens to the fucking dome.
Hey, to the kid's credit, he has a good reaction here. He kind of goes all like cross-eyed, and it's almost like he's gonna fall over, but he doesn't. He just keeps going.
Yeah, and for the rest of this scene, and then like into the next scene, he's like, my head really fucking hurts. And I'm like, yeah, I bet Bill Goldberg fucking chucked a book directly between your eyes.
Yeah, but they run onto the hockey rink at the school.
Yeah.
Didn't know that public schools had hockey rink money, but
yeah,
we live in Arizona, so that's never happened. I've never had a high school hockey rink.
Yes. I never have either, but I also went to a high school with basically no sports program. I went to a math and science high school full of fucking nerds. So we didn't have much in the way of sports facilities at all.
They stopped to have a tender moment.
Okay, this
mid-chase, which I hate.
Yeah, this shit is such an action movie trope. We talked about how this is sort of like an action comedy more than it is a horror comedy. This is such a bad action movie trope where like mid chase scene or mid fight or whatever, our romantic leads will take a moment to have a little romantic moment, right? And I feel like this happens so much in just shitty action movies. And I was like rolling my eyes because I was like, you just fucking ran away from Santa Claus. He's obviously right behind you. Like, why are you wasting your time? Also, they're on an ice rink, so they're very visible.
Yeah.
They're not hidden in any way. But they're just having their little emotional moment for whatever fucking reason.
And then sure enough, Santa takes the opportunity to try to kill them with a Zamboni.
I do like Santa on a Zamboni. It is kind of fun.
And then right before the Zamboni like crushes them against the wall of the ice rink, it gets stopped by like a magical curling stone.
Yes, a holy curling stone.
Embedded like stopped one of the wheels or the treads of the Zamboni.
Yeah.
And he turns around and there's a glowing grandpa angel.
The glow effect is so like shitty and cheap. It's really funny.
It looks worse than the flying sleigh effects for sure.
Oh, we also, I don't think we've really mentioned, speaking of bad effects, we haven't really mentioned, I think it's already happened a couple times by this point in the movie, but occasionally Bill Goldberg will shoot fireballs out of his mouth in this movie.
Yeah, he does it. He does it during the high school, the chase through the high school.
Yeah, he's like shooting fireballs from his mouth, and it looks like PS2 graphics. It's pretty bad. But also hilarious. I did enjoy him just belching fire. But yeah, so Grandpa's here, and basically the deal that with him showing back up in angel form, basically. I mean, he looks the same, but his like mortal body is dead and he's back to being an angel. Which, by the way, his angel outfit, he's wearing like an In-N-Out employee hat. I'm not sure what was up with that.
Yeah.
But he's like dressed all in white now or whatever. And basically he challenges Demon Santa to a rematch, like another curling match, basically.
Yeah, I do want to point out this moment where Bill Goldberg takes out one of Nick's Santa letters that I guess he has on him
Oh yeah.
and reads the letter to Santa aloud in like a mocking little kid voice. Very funny performance from Bill Goldberg here.
Yeah. And he's like, "Dear Santa, I want an easy bake oven."
Literally just like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna do another curling match. Santa opens up a hole in the ice that is a portal to hell, basically.
He stomps on the ice in this high school hockey rink, and a crack opens in the ice that with like flames under it, and then the ice falls open in this one spot, and there is a hole to hell. And I do, again, credit to this movie where credit is due. When the hole to hell opens up, there's like hell noises coming out of it, and it's like screaming and like flames and shit, and like, wails of despair. And I was like, okay, fun hell noises.
Yeah.
I like the hell noises coming out of the hellhole. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so then they are gonna play their curling match. They're kind of like shit talking each other a little bit. Grandpa takes his shot. He like slides his stone up to the edge of the hell portal, and it gets really, really close, but doesn't like go in, which I guess is good. I don't know what the rules of curling are.
Yeah.
But Santa seems upset by this, and Grandpa seems happy, so I guess it was a good shot.
And I think Santa just grabs Grandpa and throws him down the hole.
Yes.
He doesn't even take a shot. He just chucks him down into hell.
Yes, instead of taking a shot, he just literally grabs Grandpa and slides him across the ice into the portal to hell.
I should mention that before Grandpa got sent on a one-way ticket to the Lake of Fire, he did turn to his grandson and say, "Hey, remember that thing that you read in that note 5 minutes ago?
Yes.
I'm going to remind you, and I'm going to remind the audience, the only worthwhile gifts are practical ones."
Yeah, so Grandpa gets slid into the portal to hell. And then basically Santa is like, oh, I'm going to fucking kill you now. And then Nicholas tries to get one over on Santa Claus here and be like, "Oh, you can't actually do anything to us. You have no power now because it is 7 p.m. at the North Pole now." And he like has his little clock thing. And Santa's like, "Guess what, bitch? At the North Pole, all of the time zones converge." So he has a great line here where he's like, "Christmas is over when I say it's over." And then here is where the fucking Nutcracker toy comes back. Like Santa's gonna try and kill him or whatever.
Yeah, Santa, coughs up another fireball at them.
Yeah.
And Nick takes out the Nutcracker and shoots a chestnut that goes through the fireball, and the chestnut ignites, and it lands in Santa's chest. I thought it was going to explode.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
But it doesn't. It just sort of embeds itself in there because like you said, I think he mentions that when a chestnut lights on fire, if you don't poke holes in it, it explodes. And I wanted to see this chestnut blow Bill Goldberg's chest open. But
yeah. Unfortunately, it does not. Yeah.
And Santa falls over backwards. And Grandpa is like hanging off the edge of the hell portal hole.
Yeah.
And they pull him up and they seal the portal. And Santa gets up and grabs the Zamboni and drives the Zamboni through the wall and takes off.
Yeah.
And they're like gonna go chase Santa Claus, but for some reason, like, Grandpa can't leave the hockey arena.
This was very confusing to me.
The note I have is Grandpa can't leave the hockey arena because the script won't let him.
Yes.
There's like a barrier or something that he can't pass through, so he just, pieces out and goes back to heaven. Or
yeah,
whatever.
I think angels are just apparently only allowed in high school sports arenas. That's the only. I think in general, divine intervention is just limited to sporting events, right? So it's like angels can show up in NFL stadiums, high school hockey rinks, at the Olympics, but that's everywhere else. No divine intervention allowed. So yeah, Grandpa is beamed back up to the mothership.
Pieces out, good luck killing Satan, you guys.
I did my part. Thanks for saving me from falling into hell. Goodbye. And yeah, so he leaves. They're trying to chase Santa down. There's a thing in the chase earlier, the snowmobile chase. There is a thing where like there were all these like skeet shooters.
Right.
Yeah. And so their plan is to lure Santa back to the skeet shooters and have them all shoot him.
And Mary's dad is there.
Yeah.
Because he's a hunter.
Right.
So they run into the skeet shooters and the hunters, and they're basically like trying to convince them that they're gonna to stick around, and they're gonna get a chance to kill a flying reindeer.
Yeah.
I like this guy who's smoking a cigarette with and he has one of those like transdermal microphones that smokers have when they lose a lung.
Yes.
And he's still smoking and he talks through that.
Yeah, and like all the clothes he's wearing are merch from the cigarette brand too. I think it's like a play on Camel cigarettes. I think it's called like Llama cigarettes. He's wearing like a Llama cigarettes hat, a Llama cigarettes jacket, a Llama cigarettes shirt. Which I thought was a funny gag that he's like talking with like the transdermal mic. He's still smoking and like he's just completely decked out in merch from the cigarette brand.
Yeah.
Pretty funny joke.
And this is kind of I agree with you. I think the first half of this movie is stronger because the climax here, the high school stuff in this is all kind of a weak ending to the movie.
Yeah, and it's like bloodless and kind of we lose a lot of the Bill Goldberg like wrestling moves and stuff. A lot of the stuff that makes the first half fun is just absent here.
Yeah, so basically what happens is Santa's sleigh is flying through the air and flies over this group of hunters, and they all start shooting at it with their guns. And then Mary's dad just shoots a bazooka off and blows up the sleigh, and we get some guts raining down. Not enough guts. We need more guts.
At this point too, the preacher who's dressed up as Santa Claus in the sleigh like falls out of the sleigh when it gets shot or right before and gets impaled on a flagpole.
Yeah.
So that's that is a good one. I did appreciate that we got like one more good gore moment. It's not like super gory. It's not as gory as you would want, but I'll take what I can get.
Everyone thinks like it's the real Santa Claus or whatever, and Nick realizes that the real one's still out there.
Yeah.
There's also the Book of Claus falls down from the sleigh, so he takes that with him. And he and Mary kiss, whatever, who gives a shit? And yeah, they're basically like, he's still out there, we have to be ready for him.
Yeah. And there is a funny moment here where after the preacher gets impaled on the fucking flagpole, like just some guy pulls out or shows up with like a huge circular saw.
Yeah.
And he's like, stand back, this is gonna get messy, because he's gonna have to like cut the fucking body off the flagpole. Which is funny. Anyway.
The final scene here is Santa's dressed as a biker at an airport. And he's gonna fly home to the North Pole, and he checks his Santa sack in as his checked bag, which is funny.
Yeah. He also just looks like Bill Goldberg. In this scene. He no longer looks like Santa Claus at all. He, I think, has the shaved head now, and has like the biker goatee, like the long biker goatee beard thing that he was kind of his iconic look, right?
And he's got a vest on,
and just like a leather vest. Yeah, he like fully just looks like regular Bill Goldberg now. And he's just flying somewhere else, I guess. Yeah. Flying to Santa's sleigh too. Which I don't think ever happened. I think that this was one and done.
Yeah, I don't think this was a very lucrative franchise. And we cut to credits. Yeah, we get the crappy original punk rock music for this movie.
Yes.
There's a fun gag where the people in everyone listed in the credits has a naughty and nice list next to them.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
It is kind of cute.
And then there's a quote, a quick little post-credit stinger here where Santa's reading his list and turns to the camera and says, "Who's next?"
Yeah.
Which I think was one of Bill Goldberg's like wrestling catchphrases.
Yeah. And that's the end of this this very silly 78-minute movie.
Yeah, pretty breezy 78 minutes overall. So that's Santa's sleigh.
That's it.
So Justus, tell me, is Santa's sleigh starring wrestling legend Bill Goldberg
and featuring James Caan for some fucking reason.
for 2 seconds? Is Santa's sleigh the greatest movie ever made?
David, this is like you said, a breezy 78 minutes. I don't think this movie is good. I think this movie is bad. That being said, you know, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's 78 minutes, which is exactly what you want for a film of this quality. And Bill Goldberg is a lot of fun to watch. Like I said, the first half of the movie works for me better. There's some good fight sequences, a little bit of gore. Wish there was a lot more gore. The main performances, Nicholas and Mary, don't really do much for me. Not really compelled by those performances or those characters. I think you could do worse with a holiday film. I think you could probably even do worse with a holiday horror film. I haven't seen a lot of the like really schlocky direct-to-video holiday horror films, but I imagine that this is not the worst one out there. I had a decent time with this. I was entertained. I was rolling my eyes a little bit, but almost equally to the amount that I was rolling my eyes, I was having a good time and laughing a little bit. No, Santa's Sleigh is not the greatest movie ever made. I cannot say that it is. Apologies to listener Emilie, who suggested this and said that in her opinion, this is the greatest movie ever made. Sorry, I'm not seeing what you're seeing here, Emilie, but I will say I did have a fun time with this. I'm glad I watched it. And I would lightly recommend this to listeners who like sort of like so bad it's good type movies. If you're looking for something this festive season to watch, maybe while you're decorating your tree or wrapping presents or at a Christmas party or something, and you want something that's like a little violent, a little campy, a little dumb, you could throw this on. I'm gonna say that it's a worthwhile addition to your holiday season. If you've never seen it, you know, give it a whirl. It's not gonna blow you away, but I think it's worth a watch at least once. So that being said, no, absolutely not. This is not the greatest movie ever made. That was never a question in my mind. Basically, after that first scene, I was like, no, this movie, no. David, is Santa's Sleigh from 2005 executive produced by human pile of shit Brett Ratner the greatest movie ever made?
No. Fuck no.
Of course not.
It's not. Emilie, thank you so much for suggesting this to us. I had a lot of fun with this movie. However, to echo everything that you said, it's not very good. The performances aren't great. Really, what's holding this up for me is Bill Goldberg having the time of his life, some fun action kill sequences where he gets the chance to showcase his wrestling moves. The Rankin Bass style flashback is fun, and some of the bad jokes did land for me. But like you said, you could do a lot worse. I'd rather watch this than plenty of other family Christmas movies.
Oh yeah, give me
Christmas
this over
horror movies.
Yeah, give me this over fucking the Santa Claus any day.
Oh yeah. So I would say, like you said, like if you're having a Christmas party and you need a break from Jingle All the Way and the Christmas Story, 24-hour Christmas Story cable broadcasts, and you got some drinks going, you can put on Santa's Sleigh and pay attention to half of it. It's a pretty breezy 78 minutes, like I said. It's not gonna blow your mind, but it's not a waste of time either. But in no universe is this the greatest movie ever made,
except for Emilie's universe.
Which, hey, that's great. And again, if you're a listener and you want to recommend a movie, it doesn't have to be something that you think is the greatest movie ever made. We will watch anything that you recommend to us, as long as it isn't a snuff film or something we've watched before.
What if we did watch a snuff film and then we had to talk about whether it was the greatest movie ever made? Is Zapruder film the greatest movie ever made?
Well, if we're talking Zapruder film.
Probably the greatest snuff film ever made.
Yeah.
That's actually just a guy's head exploding, and it's pretty compelling.
What if JFK's head just did that, though?
That's my theory. I think it just did
What
that.
if his head just did that? So we are covering one other Christmas movie this holiday season. We're not doing a full month, but we thought it would be fun to do this listener request, as well as a movie that we have planned coming up in a couple of weeks that I'll save the reveal for. But next week we are taking a look at another actually good movie. One of the few actually good movies that we've covered on this show. Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, directed by David Lynch. We are being joined by our friend Valerie Moffat.
Yes, Valerie is going to be on the show. We're so excited to talk to Val about this movie. It's going to be such a fun time diving into Lynch because I am a huge David Lynch fan. The Podmaster fucking hates David Lynch. But I'm a big fan, also a huge Twin Peaks fan. Val's an even bigger Lynch and Twin Peaks fan than I am, and it's going to be such a hoot to talk to Val about this movie. So super excited for that. That episode is going to be long as shit, by the way. I know this one was a little shorter. Next week, we're going to go right back to the long ones.
And I have an interesting history with David Lynch, as well as Twin Peaks. This will be my first time actually watching Fire Walk with Me. I've only seen the original show once, the whole way through, and I had meant to catch up on some of it, but I don't know if I'll get the chance to, so I'll just kind of be going into Fire Walk with Me cold. It'll be interesting to talk with you and Val about that film. It's cool that we're finally talking about some Lynch, and again, talking about an actually good movie instead of Santa's Sleigh and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and just all this goofy, weird shit that we like that no one else cares about.
Yeah.
We hope that you will join us for that. In the meantime, take care of yourself. We hope you have a good start to the holiday season. We hope that continues from you. And until we see you again, later dipshits!
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Greatest Movie Ever Made. Please remember to leave us a rating and a review, and to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. We appreciate you supporting the show and spreading the word. Tell your friends to listen, tell your enemies to listen, tell your mom to listen. If your neighbor has an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, connect to it and play an episode. You can follow us on social media at TGMEM_podcast, and if you've got a movie that you want us to talk about, send us an email at thegreatestmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Okay, that's all for now. We hope you beautiful people all come back next week for another episode.